every single day. CNN, ABC, MSNBC refuse to cover it. We'll be back after the break with Roger Stone. Don't go anywhere. Infowars.com. We're live on the Alex Jones Show, top of the next hour. We've got Tommy Robinson coming on, of course, a regular guest. I'm excited to talk to him again. It's been a while. But for the moment, we have another man who needs no introduction. The website is stonecoldtruth.com. It's Roger Stone. Roger, before the break, I was talking about this huge scandal that no one is covering besides Fox News. We have Debbie Wasserman Schultz's former IT staffer at the DNC, and she only fired him after he was arrested, months after all these criminal charges were against him. He wires $300,000 to Pakistan. He's found with smashed up hard drives. This is a guy who has direct access to the IT servers at the DNC. He's colluding potentially with a foreign government. He's colluding potentially, as Tony Shaffer said last night, with the Muslim Brotherhood terrorist organization. How on earth is this not a bigger scandal? How on earth have the likes of CNN been able to ignore this huge story?
You're absolutely right, Paul. It's extraordinary. In fact, it's even slightly worse than you depicted it. After the Capitol Hill police launched their investigation into these two Pakistani brothers, Deborah Wasserman Schultz changed their classification from consultants to employees of the House of Representatives to ensure that they would continue to have access to the House of Representatives computer system. So she has abetted whatever they were up to. She refuses to take questions. She berated the Capitol Hill police chief for launching the investigation, demanding a return of the hard drives from her office. Interestingly, she also introduced these two brothers to 19 other Democratic members of Congress who then opened their IT contracts to them, meaning that they burrowed deep into the Democratic caucus, getting access to all of that information, including, obviously, financial information, because the Capitol Hill police investigation was a bank fraud, a electronic, wire theft investigation. But where is the Washington Post? Where is the New York Times? Where is CNN? This is as if it didn't even happen. Fortunately, it appears Republicans will nominate Carla Spalding, Haitian-American Republican woman who is a registered nurse, has a master's degree, a single mother with 3 children, very attractive, very articulate, Liberty Republican. And like the race against Maxine Waters, this is going to be about corruption rather than ideology.
Now, I want to talk about the whole Scaramucci controversy which arose last night out of this New Yorker magazine interview. Claims flying on both sides that it should have been off the record. Of course, the New Yorker writer says it was on the record. With Scaramucci throwing shade at Bannon, you've got this kind of three-way would-be cage match going on between Bannon, Reince Priebus, and Scaramucci. You've got Breitbart siding with Jeff Sessions, siding against Scaramucci. Where do you see the breakdown? Is this going to split Trump's base? What's going on with this clash of personalities right now?
Well, at 2 p.m. today, I'm going to have an exclusive report for Infowars breaking this down in even greater detail because, in all honesty, Paul, the situation changes literally by the minute. But so our listeners can understand the battle lines, this is really a two-way fight. Steve Bannon, for reasons that don't really make sense to me, has aligned himself with Reince Priebus and the pragmatist wing of the Trump White House, the so-called Republican establishment loyalists, where Andrew Dice Scaramucci, as we now call him, really stands for undiluted Trumpism, the quaint notion that perhaps we should be appointing people to federal office who are Trump supporters rather than Bush supporters. Bannon, as you know, has, although putting some of the anti-globalist themes before the president, helping him in that regard, has aligned himself on personnel matters largely with the hapless Priebus, who is now known among many members of the White House staff by the nickname Rancid Penis. It is really breaking down to be a fight between the loyalists to Trump and the pragmatists who Bannon has sadly thrown in with. Meanwhile, I think Reince Priebus's position hangs by a thread. I don't expect him to survive much longer than a day or two. And the real question is, where will the president go in his selection of an alternative? Will he elevate Scaramucci himself to the chief of staff position? Will he choose someone like David Urban, who ran the Pennsylvania campaign, a decorated war veteran and longtime Capitol Hill veteran known for his savvy and his fierce loyalty to Donald Trump? Or will he turn to General Jack Kelly, who would appear on paper to have the administrative skills for this position, but who has ties to the globalists and who is one of the major proponents of the reignition of the war on drugs by the police state? This situation literally changing by the moment. And then, sadly, I must tell you, there is the outside kind of dark horse candidate, Dina Habib Powell. It's not clear that the president understands her real pedigree in her status as a globalist with ties to Valerie Jarrett, Huma Abedin, and Condi Rice.
Now, I mean, these situations are always fluid because, as we've seen before, President Trump listens to advice from all corners. He can't possibly know everything, which is why these situations are subject to change. Where does Jeff Sessions stand in all this? Because, of course, Breitbart has vociferously come out and defended him over the past few days. Trump has gone after Sessions to some extent on Twitter. Some of Trump's base say that's a mistake. Obviously, Trump's disenfranchised, disillusioned with Sessions to some extent. Where do you see this going?
Well, the president, I think, is right to be disillusioned with Jeff Sessions. We know that the super-secret FISA court rendered essentially a decision at the very end of the Obama administration, which certified without any question the mass surveillance of tens of thousands of Americans, including yours truly, for strictly political purposes. We weren't being surveilled because we were in touch with foreign powers or because we were engaged in subversive activities. We were being surveilled because we were for Donald Trump, because we are Republicans. And this is a crime 10 times worse than Watergate, and it implicates not only Mr. Clapper, former CIA Director John O., Islamic man Brennan, Admiral Rogers, Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, and yes, I think we have to assume Barack Obama himself. What did the president know, and when did he know it? This happened on his watch. It is unlikely that he did not know about the widespread, unconstitutional, illegal, willful spying on American citizens. Now, the question is, where is Jeff Sessions? Why has he done nothing about this? Attorneys I have spoken to who are an expert in the area tell me this is a slam dunk criminal indictment, that you could take the FISA court document to any grand jury and have an afternoon indictment of all of these culprits. Yet Sessions is missing in action. He's done nothing. Then you have the question of Bill and Hillary Clinton and their money scam, the Clinton Foundation. It's not a charity. It was a slush fund for Bill and Hillary and their greedy little daughter. And as you know, Paul, it was the vehicle for the facilitation of multi-million-dollar bribes pertaining to the direct sale of government decisions, such as the transfer of control of much of the country's uranium to the Russians. There's the banking scandal, the gas scandal. Once again, Jeff Sessions missing in action. On the other hand, Sessions seems to be dedicated to arresting pot smokers. Anybody in the 29 states that have legalized marijuana for medicinal purposes are in grave danger because Jeff Sessions seems to think that that is a priority, notwithstanding the fact that candidate Trump said very clearly during the campaign that he favored states' rights on this question. Although he himself does not support the use of marijuana, he respected the rights of the states and the people in those states to make that decision. So one has to wonder, has Sessions been compromised? I must tell you, with their slipping readership and their lack of leadership, I don't think Breitbart has the kind of impact that they had back when Bannon was at the helm. Frankly, they have been supplanted by Infowars as the leading voice of liberty in the nation's capital.
There does seem to be a struggle over editorial control taking place at Breitbart. They seem to be going off in several different directions at different times. With Sessions, he could have been influenced, as you said. Of course, you've got the Obama holdovers, the never-Trumpers working directly against Trump. Then you've got others which probably fall into the category of, deer in the headlights, where they're not really vehemently acting as bulldogs for the Trump agenda. They're not getting on the offensive as they should be doing. That's what Scaramucci was brought in to do. He's going after the leakers. We have this headline up on Infowars.com. Report top FBI lawyer James A. Baker under investigation for leaking classified info to media. FBI General Counsel James Baker, a Comey confidant, is allegedly under a criminal investigation by the Department of Justice for leaking classified information to the media. Roger, is it going to take someone to be put in prison for a very long time for these leaks to dry up overnight? Is that what it's going to take? And is Scaramucci the man to get it done?
Well, I appreciate the sentiment of what Anthony is trying to do. However, the history, as you know, Paul, of finding the leakers by any of our recent presidents has been unsuccessful. It's virtually impossible to find out who leaked much of this material. What then happens is those seeking the leakers begin utilizing surveillance and wiretapping, as it used to be known, to find them. Before long, we are as bad as they are, and civil liberties begin to be violated in a wholesale manner that still never ferrets out those quislings who are leaking the information. Far better, it seems to me, for Sessions to focus on the prosecution of those involved in the Obama surveillance, as well as the Clinton Foundation. Nothing would destabilize the left more than throwing Barack Obama in prison where he belongs. Nothing would destabilize the left more than the federal marshals kicking in the doors at 5 a.m. to arrest Jarrett, Rogers, Clapper, Brennan, et al. This is really the answer, in my view, to getting off of defense, getting on offense, and bringing the fight to the radical left. Now, in the meantime, I have learned, and I will expand upon this, that Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, who on his own volition appointed Robert Mueller a special prosecutor, a special counsel in this case, when no one was clamoring for a special counsel, and when, more importantly, there was no evidence of a crime to have a special counsel investigate. So it seems that Robert Mueller's job is to find a crime where none exists as a pretext for the removal of Donald Trump. Where, you may ask, did Mr. Rosenstein come from? How did he get to the Trump Justice Department, given his background as a Bush-Clinton operative? It can now be revealed that it was Reince Priebus who is the advocate for the hiring of Mr. Rosenstein on the recommendation of, I hope you're sitting down, Congressman Elijah Cummings from Baltimore, the black left-wing Democrat with an IQ of around 70, considered by many the single dumbest member of Congress. He doesn't seem to be sure where Russia is, never mind the United States. Now, why, during the transition, would Priebus take a recommendation from Elijah Cummings? It makes no sense whatsoever. Cummings is among the president's most virulent critics, yet that is Rosenstein's patron in this administration. Someone has to question what Mr. Priebus could have been thinking of.
So you're saying that the appointment of Mueller links directly back to Priebus, and that he potentially knew that by appointing Mueller, this special investigation would lead to the attempted impeachment of Donald Trump, and that the never-Trumpers, the traitors inside the administration, knew that from the very beginning, and that they were potentially behind it?
Well, at a minimum, it's clear that the appointment of Rosenstein tracks directly back to Reince Priebus. Now, it's impossible, of course, for Priebus to know everything. Perhaps he didn't know that Rosenstein would take the opportunity of Jeff Sessions' recusal to appoint a special prosecutor whose only intent is to take Donald Trump down. If you look at the front page of USA Today, it reiterates that Mueller is now going to be looking at real estate transactions and developments of Donald Trump in the period prior to his being a candidate for public office, prior to his entering American politics. And the relevance of that would be what? That's not his charge. That's not the mandate that he's been given. I think it demonstrates that this is just an illegitimate effort to take the president down no matter what.
And that is the subject of an article today, Is Trump Entering a Kill Box, by Pat Buchanan, where he makes the argument that Trump has been backed into a corner. As he said, Mueller has gone way beyond the Russian collusion. He's not even basically interested in the Russian collusion at this point. He's talking about investigating any financial transaction involving Trump. He's going to try and dig up something. They're going to blow it all out of proportion. And that's the way. This is about bringing down Trump, Roger. This has nothing whatsoever anymore to do with Russian collusion, right?
Absolutely. I think that nails it right on the head. The entire Russian collusion delusion has collapsed. They have nothing. The meeting of Donald Trump Jr., an avid follower of Infowars and a true patriot, turns out to be a total setup. We now have photos of this woman Russian lawyer in John McCain's office. We have photos of her attending Clinton demonstrations. We now know that the FBI under Comey let her into the country where she had no visa so she could have this meeting. Can you say set up? Because that's what this smells like more and more.
Now, I want to get your take after the break, Roger, about Obamacare, the so-called Obamacare repeal. We have this headline out of CNS News: Trump, 3 Republicans and 48 Democrats let the American people down. In a 2 a.m. tweet Friday after the Senate failed to pass the so-called skinny healthcare bill, President Trump said, quote, 3 Republicans and 48 Democrats let the American people down. As I said from the beginning, let Obamacare implode, then deal. Watch. I'm going to get Roger Stone's take on that after the break. I'm also going to talk to him about Pastor Rodney Howard-Browne, who says he was told of a plot to take out President Trump physically. Going to get Roger's take on that. This is the Alex Jones Show Live. We'll be back after the break. Breaking news at Infowars.com. Don't go away. We are live on the Alex Jones Show. This is the final segment with Roger Stone. Roger, I just wanted to get your quick take on Obamacare, because we had the so-called skinny repeal attempt last night. A lot of people, of course, said it was completely pointless, but John McCain and others managed to sink it. What's your take on that?
Well, the American people, I think, have to be profoundly disappointed. And now what we're going to get is a classic pointing match where the president blames the Congress and the Congress attempt to blame the president. I see an opportunity politically for the president to run against the Congress, as Harry Truman did in 1948, as the do-nothing Congress. It's not a lack of leadership on the part of the president. It's a lack of responsiveness by the Senate Republicans. Also, a classic example, the president has to begin punishing the establishment Republicans. We have a special election coming up in Alabama where Mitch McConnell has the hammerlock on the president, squeezing him for the endorsement of establishment candidate Luther Strange. The president should reject that and should make it clear that he will support challengers to sitting Republican senators who will not get on board for the Trump reform agenda. Franklin Roosevelt did this, and it's essential that President Trump do it. He is not a creature of the Republican Party. He is a creature of the American people. And if he makes it clear that he's prepared to visit Alaska and will campaign against Lisa Murkowski, that he is prepared to weigh in, there is no evidence that there's any lack of popularity of the president among grassroots Republican primary voters. I recently saw a poll in Alabama, again, where the president's approval rating among Republican primary voters was at 90%. He has more leverage at this point in the Republican Party than those in the congressional wing of the party who have betrayed him on the question of health care.
Okay, I know you got to get off, Roger. We're going to leave it there. The website is stonecoldtruth.com. We'll speak to you again, Roger. Thanks for joining us today.
I will be back at 2 with an exclusive update on the inter-White House conference and the struggle for power inside the Trump administration.
Okay, we'll be sure to look for that on Infowars.com later today. There goes Rogers.
And the sponsors and the good Lord above. Stay with us. 2 + 2 = 4. All right, final segment with Paul Watson. And when I say Roger Stone's coming up with big breaking news, we have to basically sit on our intel for days before we release it. And these aren't White House leaks. These are things that the Patriots on the inside want the public to know. I've had intensive discussions with Roger about the fact that we really should hype this up better, who our sources are. I mean, not specifically who our sources are, but that you're really getting stuff that the New York Times, the Washington Post would kill for, and that they're not going to be getting anymore. Because they've been using the fact that they have some people on the inside, Reince Priebus is caught red-handed, to leak stuff to then spin or twist what the info is. You're getting directly what's going on. And, I mean, just like I told you 6 months ago, Scaramucci couldn't get in to see the president, even though the president wanted him as a top advisor. And Reince Priebus would walk in and say, well, the president wants you to resign, leave. And then he called up some certain people, and they said, no, it's all bull. Wait, and want to talk to Trump. Just don't leave. You have been given a letter. And then Trump got really mad and said, you're kidding. You're kidding. I didn't tell you to be fired. And so that's why 6 months later, Trump wanted him at the top billing as his own group communications director, and Priebus came in with a new letter saying that he was under Priebus, and Trump got really upset. But again, we'll see how far Roger goes with all this, because I have some other sources as well. Cernovich has some great sources, but this is high level. High level. I mean, just like we told you, Trump wasn't going to have boots on the ground to take out Assad, and 3 days later he said that word for word. I mean, this is coming from high up, and it's important to know. But it's very humbling, too, to realize these are just people like us. I mean, there's not a bunch of Machiavellian stuff going on with Trump. He's really, the 3D chess is not 3D chess, folks. He's just trying to do the right thing, trying to do common sense economic things we know work and cultural things we know work. He's not doing all the weird scheming that normally goes on. That's the big secret, is it isn't 3D chess. He's going back to common sense stuff that always worked, that was thousands of years of 3D learning. So it seems super advanced and wild and whoa. It's called just having integrity. Paul Watson, what do you say to that?
No, that's exactly it, Alex. And, Scaramucci's been put in to root out the leakers. That's why the media hates him, because if he does his job, it's game over for them. He's cut it off at the source. That's why they're now leaking on him and trying to bring him down. But again, that's why they hate him. Then on the flip side, you got this huge scandal with the DNC and Wasserman Schultz. They're blacklisting that. That is absolutely massive. Foreign collusion with a terrorist organization, proof, and they're not talking about that. That's a collusion story which you actually have evidence for. They're doing everything they can to bury it, Alex.
Paul, getting back to the cultural stuff, you were making the point that it's meant to erase history and make it okay to just absolutely get rid of Western culture. That's the third world invasion, not bring folks in to then assimilate and create a great melting pot. We all like different cultures, a mix of things, make a lot of diverse food, clothing, literature, you name it. I like a foreign film as much as anybody, or a foreign meal, but it's meaning get rid of our culture and then let the corporatist manipulate that. And that's really the issue, is destroying Western culture, not just getting us to run up the white flag. That's why we've got to fight it and say, hey, especially to the so-called minorities, don't you see the manipulation? They're trying to make sure you don't have a birthright of being in a free, open society. Why'd you try to get here? And then why are you trying to dynamite it once you get here?
No, that's it, Alex. The West is the most open, tolerant, non-racist country. I mean, Britain, absolutely tolerant of everybody, yet we still get demonized as bigoted, as racist. They're trying to rewrite history to, again, take our birthright away from us, as you said, literally saying that women in hijabs are a good depiction of Victorian-era Britain. They actually said that in a national newspaper and said that I got owned for saying something else. absolutely incredible, Alex.
That's right. They just say you got owned for being right, for being on target. Conker's saying I got owned for saying there's an attempted coup against the president, which they now admit there is. For being totally on target and first, I'm bad. Great job, Paul.
Welcome. I'm Roger Stone, and you're here on the Alex Jones Show at Infowars. Big contretemps in Washington, D.C. as a power struggle clearly ensues inside the Trump administration. And where the president stands is the crucial question. We have seen the rise of Anthony Scaramucci, an unabashed Trump loyalist who's taking on the mainstream media and taking on the Republican National Committee quislings who infect the Trump White House. For reasons that are hard to understand, the nationalist Steve Bannon, formerly associated with Breitbart.com, has aligned himself with the so-called pragmatists. Yes, as we revealed exclusively at Infowars only hours ago, it was Reince who is responsible for the appointment of Rod Rosenstein, the man who, acting on his own, appointed special counsel Robert Mueller, whose job is to be an executioner of Donald J. Trump. Incredibly, we can report here exclusively at Infowars that Rosenstein was appointed at the behest of Congressman Elijah Cummings, the African-American left-wing Democrat from Baltimore. Yes, you heard that correctly. Priebus took a job recommendation from a left-wing Democrat, and other than Maxine Waters, perhaps the single greatest Trump hater in the U.S. House. Cummings has attacked me personally, repeatedly, claiming falsely that I had some traffic with the Russians in an attempt to affect the 2016 election. Here is the latest status. Reince Priebus is the Cato Caitlin of the Trump administration. He's the house guest who doesn't know when to leave. And like Cato Caitlin, he jumped on an airplane to Long Island with the president today in a desperate bid to save his job. It's abundantly clear that the president has had it with the leadership of Mr. Priebus, and I continue to predict that his days are limited. But like Cato Caitlin, Priebus doesn't seem to know how to read the tea leaves, doesn't seem to understand the signals he's getting from Donald J. Trump that it's time to leave. And then there's the question of who will follow Mr. Priebus, an all-important question, because some on this list are problematic. For example, there is discussion now of now confirmed at the U.S., first reported on Infowars and now confirmed by the New York Times, that Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly is on the short list of those who would replace Priebus. As we discussed yesterday, Hill veteran David Urban, very highly thought of because of the blood and guts effort that he waged in Pennsylvania to carry the crucial Keystone State for Donald Trump, has taken himself out of consideration. But there are new reports that longtime Washington fixture Wayne Berman, an enormously capable individual who has represented Donald Trump and the Trump organization in the past, may be under consideration for the chief of staff position. Berman, who was a colleague of mine at the firm of Black, Manafort, Stone, and Atwater almost 40 years ago, is known as one of the most savvy operators in Washington, someone who has deep relationships in the media, deep relationships in the Congress, but a strong and trustful relationship with President Donald Trump.
Roger.
Berman would certainly be superior to any of the other candidates that are currently being named. Alex, I think that's the lay of the land. As you know, personnel is policy. That's why the decision on the chief of staff coming up shortly is absolutely crucial.
Well, I'm going to be riveted via the Infowars iPhone free app while I'm here with my family in the next 45 minutes that you have left transmitting here. 46, 47 minutes you have left, but I just had to come in here. We're going to skip this next break coming up so you have a little bit more time to bring up, obviously, the big issue here. They know now that Trump's going to purge the people that have been leaking, the deep staters. We know that he now has the lay of the land. We understand that now even Fox News has intensified their attacks on Trump, their backhanded attacks. They're desperate, and they've now signaled, going back 3 weeks ago internally, but now publicly, that they are preparing to go after Trump physically. And the Secret Service has visited the Pastor Brown, who met with the president, and also senior members of Congress who discussed the plan to overthrow the president violently. He has now confirmed that indeed his congressional source said the plan is to violently overthrow the president. Well, the Secret Service came to him and demanded his source in Congress. He said, you have to subpoena me. But why would you do that if you're the Secret Service? You have globalists on television all over the place saying overthrow the president violently. You have the former CIA director with the former head of national intelligence. You have Brennan and Clapper on the Aspen Institute TV program hosted by Wolf Blitzer saying a physical overthrow is coming outside of impeachment. We're going to remove him. You've got Atlantic Monthly calling for it. You've got it being discussed and shopped around at the Pentagon by former Obama appointees that are high level. You've got all this unfolding. And then you've got Al Gore going on the Late Late Show 2 nights ago and saying, don't worry, he's going to be removed in the next few months, and a big constitutional crisis is coming, and everybody's got to just come together and sit down and take it when it happens. That's what Brennan's saying. So the big issue is, what do we do as the American people to get the word out about this? Because they simultaneously have Media Matters, the mouth of Soros, saying I'm crazy and never sourcing anything I said, because I was sourcing real clips. They just show text comments and edited video to make it sound like I'm just out of the blue saying they're planning to overthrow the president. They've announced plans to overthrow him. They even have little commenters and bots going, look how insane he is. No one's saying this. So that's how crazy they are. They're all over the place saying kill him, overthrow him. A top writer, top authors put out a book about how they should kill the president. This is all out there. It's a crescendo of drum beating, and then they're moving forward. But when we try to cause a debate about it, as they sell it, normalize it, they say we're insane, it doesn't exist. So what do you make of all this, Roger Stone? I'm going to punch out and let you take over, because the system is really panicking now as they realize they can't compromise Trump, and he's already decimated much of their globalist operations. Back to Roger Stone for Infowars.com. I'm Alex Jones.
Thank you so much, Alex. I think you've hit it right on the head. Here is why you see this hysteria by those who are talking about the removal of the president. I can report exclusively to Infowars that the president now understands completely the implications of the FISA renderings at the very end of the Obama administration. This has been presented to the president as a formal option. He understands that Clapper, Brennan, Jarrett, Reince, and presumably the president of the United States himself had knowledge in advance of the willful, unconstitutional, illegal mass surveillance of tens of thousands of Americans, including yours truly, for strictly political purposes. This is jail time for the front line of the Obama administration. And they know that they are in jeopardy. That is what explains this hysteria. I got a report from a White House staffer only minutes ago that this option has been placed in front of the president, and he is mulling it on his way to Long Island for his appearance today. And I think that explains the absolute hysteria that you're hearing from the alt left and from those who seek to undo the Trump administration. Additionally, there is, at this point, appears to be at least a tentative decision to keep Attorney General Jeff Sessions in place. This is based, of course, on the idea that perhaps Sessions has got the message. Now, as we know from history, efforts to root out the leakers by the last 4 presidents have been notably unsuccessful. The announcement by the Attorney General that he would now pursue a probe into the leakers is largely, sadly, a waste of time. In fact, we know that a far more effective approach against the left would be the indictment of the Obama front line, his national security team, for the aforementioned surveillance. At the same time, going after Bill and Hillary Clinton and their associates for the thievery at the Clinton Foundation. That is the double whammy that the left feared. That is the double whammy that could leave 2 presidents incarcerated. That's why the hysteria. It's very interesting to watch the criminal enterprise that is Media Matters for America. Researchers that I'm working with can detail the illegal activities and the trafficking of cash in violation of both IRS regulation and federal election law. And when they begin attacking us, as they began 2 days ago, attacking me over my exposure of the role of John McCain in the Fusion GPS phony Russian dossier scandal, which seems to get more and more serious by the moment. We learn every week that the woman lawyer who met with Don Trump Jr. was not only allowed into the country despite her obtaining of a visa by the FBI, but we now have photographs of her in John McCain's office in meeting, photographs of her at Hillary Clinton demonstrations, and now tying her directly to Fusion GPS. The president yesterday tweeted regarding FBI Director McCabe, or I should say, acting FBI Director McCabe. Not only did McCabe's wife receive $700,000 for a state Senate race, courtesy of Bill and Hillary Clinton, essentially money laundered through Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe, but more importantly, McCabe authorized the use of $50,000 of our tax dollars for an effort to obtain the phony dossier that was invented by Operative Chris Steele in an effort to smear the president, accusing him of sexual improprieties in Moscow many years ago, a charge that has been completely and totally debunked, a charge that is fake, but was designed to destroy the president. When I pointed out John McCain's role in getting the document picked up in Europe and brought to the United States, that got me the vilification of Media Matters. What these clowns don't understand is that I wear their attacks on me like a badge of honor, because they would not be attacking me but for my effectiveness. And the reason that they attack Infowars and they attack you, Alex Jones, is for the same reason, because we are the tip of the spear. We are the ongoing effort to take out the globalists and help Donald Trump assert his agenda for real reform. This is not a bad time to ask you once again to go to the Infowars.com store and give us the support we need. You see, we don't have a deep-pocketed George Soros sitting in the background writing big checks to keep Infowars on the air. We don't have super multinational corporations financing our operations here at Infowars.com. We only have you, the American people, and we must count on you to go to the store and give us the support we need. It's a win-win, because there is no product that you can buy at Infowars.com that will disappoint you. The Super Blue toothpaste is a favorite of mine and those in the Stone family. If you've ever seen my wife, Nidia, you know she has a gleaming white smile, and she attributes it to the Super Blue toothpaste. She believes, and she's used all the products you can find in a drugstore. She believes between that and the the entire line of oral care product available at the store, that she has found the very best dental product that you can find. And when you buy, you're not only getting the very best, with literally thousands of testimonials from satisfied customers, but you're also helping finance the fight for freedom, financing the fight for a free press, financing the fight for the First Amendment. So, friends, please take a moment, go to the store here at Infowars.com and support us with any one of the selection of the fine products here. And if you're not interested in our herbs or our other all-natural formulas or our toothpaste, well, then you can help by grabbing a T-shirt. For example, the Trump-Pence 2020 T-shirts or the Hillary for Prison 2017 T-shirts. That's where you will find that you will wear these and meet other like-minded patriots who share our views. One of my all-time favorites, the CNN is fake news T-shirt. I'm going to be wearing this one at Politicon this weekend in Pasadena, California. So you can get one of these, and you're not only supporting the revolution, you're not only supporting the fight for reform, but you're helping us here at Infowars.com. Now you're looking at the famous, iconic Bill Clinton rape T-shirt. This is the shirt that Alex Jones put in the history book. I designed it, and then Alex Jones sponsored a contest here at Infowars that allowed us to break through the mainstream media blackout of the story of Bill Clinton and his serial sexual assaults against multiple women. You see, the mainstream media wanted to call this infidelities or indiscretion, but the American people know better. So please, folks, go to the store, grab the product of your choice, knowing that you're going to help not only the fight for freedom, but also help us not only get yourself a great product, but help us stay alive, because we are under attack every day, not just from the clowns at Media Matters for America, but from the tech left, from Amazon, Google, Facebook, Twitter. Believe me, they would seek to limit our ability to reach you. And they do it every day through the manipulation of algorithms and 100 other computer tricks. They're designed to stop Trump revolution. They know that it is only through a robust and vibrant alternative media that our revolution can succeed. And that's why they seek to block us with 1,000 different computer tricks. How can you circumvent this? There are two important ways. If you have a Twitter feed, if you have a Facebook feed, if you're at Snapchat or Instagram, you are an army of one. When you see a compelling story you like on Infowars or Breitbart or the Daily Caller or Town Hall or any other number of liberty-oriented sites, take that link and retweet it, repost it, send it to your friends, send it to your family, and ask them to do the same. This is how one individual can step up in the fight for liberty and help us defeat those who simply now fall back on censorship as their strategy. This is not an inexpensive fight, folks. We are hoping to have extraordinary expansion here at Infowars.com. I myself have agreed to go to 5 days a week with Alex Jones, an hour at least, telling you the latest developments from the Trump White House and what's going on in Washington. You're not going to hear this at Fox. You're not going to get it at any place else other than Infowars. And that's why we need your support. Building new studios, bringing on new technology, hiring new people. This all costs money, but it's worth it because the expansion of Infowars.com is the way we win the revolution, the way we save America. We need your support. I can't say it more strongly or more emphatically. Please, folks, go to the store, find the products you like. We've got some sales on right now that are truly extraordinary. Help us help you. Help us help America. Help us stand tall in the fight against the globalists. I'm Roger Stone, and I'm proud to be with you here at Infowars. I'm excited about going to 5 days a week. I'm going to be bringing you the very best breaking news out of Washington and the Trump administration. I think people know we have sources that are better than any other alternative outlet. I'm Roger Stone, and we'll be right back. I am also going to report to you on the very latest on the Bundy trial going on in Nevada, where we last week were among the first call for a pardon for the Bundy ranchers and their supporters. The latest actions by the federal judge there will curl your ears. It's a complete denial of due process and an attempt to crush the spirit of those brave Americans who stood up against the Bureau of Land Management. Welcome back. I'm Roger Stone here at the Infowars.com and the Alex Jones Show. Delighted to be with you. As I indicated in the last segment, incredible developments in the trial of the Bundy ranchers and their supporters in Nevada. Judge Gloria Navarro, an appointee of Senator Harry Reid, has now barred the jury from hearing the audio tape of the transmissions between the Bureau of Land Management and their sharpshooters, where they were specifically told, shoot to kill and ask questions later. This precipitated snipers focusing on the Bundy children and the release of police dogs against members of the Bundy family. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what has transpired, the Bundy ranchers were the last family of ranchers farming, or I should say ranching, in Clark County, Nevada. And when they fell behind in their payments to the Bureau of Land Management, the government launched a Waco-like assault on the Bundy compound. And when other ranchers from across the West gathered in support of the Bundy, they were arrested, where they have now been denied either their First or Second Amendment rights. What's outrageous is the attempt by the government, and specifically by Judge Navarro, to deny the Bundys any legal defense. They're not allowed to argue their First Amendment rights. They're not allowed to argue their Second Amendment rights. They're not allowed to argue their right to free assembly. What is happening here is a disgrace. Let's cut to my speech in Nevada last week, where I called on the president to review this case and to pardon the Bundy in the name of justice and mercy. Let's see the video.
I have known Donald Trump, the President of the United States, for 40 years. He is a just man. He is a decent man. He is an honest man. He is a compassionate man. He is a believer in the U.S. Constitution. He answers only to the American people, not to the two-party duopoly that has run this country into the ground. And therefore, I appeal to the president, review this case in the name of justice, in the name of mercy, in the name of fairness. Pardon every member of the Bundy family and their supporters, and do it now. We will be posting a petition at Infowars.com and at StoneColdTruth.com to the president, urging him to review this case and, in the act of mercy and justice, pardon these patriots. Let's be clear. We will not be silenced. We will not be intimidated. We will not be censored. We will not go away, and we will not shut up. We are in this fight to the end. Now, we know that the illegal, unconstitutional, and outrageous actions of Judge Navarro, a vestige on the bench given to us by Harry Reid, the single most corrupt man in American political history, who, as a casino control commission, was known as Paper Bag Harry, because if you gave him cash in a brown paper bag, you could get whatever you wanted. This piece of human excrement, posing as a human being, is a disgrace to his state and his country.
There you have it. It was my high privilege and honor to meet with members of the Bundy family, the wives, the daughters, the sisters, who are not incarcerated. These are brave Americans, folks. The federal government is attempting to destroy them and their families. So please do several things. One, pray for the Bundys and their supporters. Secondarily, the White House phone number is 202-456-1414. That's 202-456-1414. You call the White House switchboard. There is a specific place where you are allowed to leave a message for the president. Call on the president as a man of justice, as a man of mercy, as a man of decency, as a man who believes in the U.S. Constitution, to pardon the Bundy and their supporters, and very specifically to pardon Pete Pastilli, a journalist who is, Pete Santilli, who is a journalist who has been incarcerated with the Bundy ranchers and their supporters for the simple act of asking tough questions about the actions of the Bureau of Land Management and an out-of-control federal bureaucracy. There is no greater fight in America today, and our president must do the right thing. Very disappointed in the sequence of events. I know many people are unhappy with Attorney General Jeff Sessions, but only weeks ago, the Attorney General visited Nevada, where he gave an interview in which he praised the prosecution in the Bundy case. For any member of the bar, for any officer of the court, you would know that this is inappropriate. For the highest law enforcement official in the United States to give an opinion like that while the trial is ongoing can taint the outcome of the trial and can destroy any chance that the Bundys have of a fair trial under our constitutional system. Please, folks, pick up the phone. Call the White House. Let the president know where you stand. Appeal to him on the basis of justice and mercy. Many thanks. Now, let's take up the question of Attorney General Sessions. It's interesting that those in the media who were aghast at Jeff Sessions' appointment, who were praising the selection of Rod Rosenstein, the Bush-Clinton Quisling, who appointed Robert Mueller as an executioner of our president, are now unbelievably praising Jeff Sessions. Has Attorney General Sessions been compromised? Why has he not proceeded against the Obama front line of his NSA team, who were deeply involved in the surveillance of tens of thousands of Americans? It's not Alex Jones making this claim. It's not Roger Stone. It's not Infowars.com. It's the U.S. FISA court. There is no doubt whatsoever about the legal culpability of Susan Rice and CIA Director John Brennan and Admiral Rogers and Valerie Jarrett, and yes, Barack Obama himself, in this wholesale wiretapping, as it were, of Republicans for solely political purposes. Now, I am a veteran of the Watergate days. I was working for Richard Nixon when he was brought down by two egregious mistakes. One was an attempt to find the leakers. Does this sound familiar? You see, Jeff Sessions launching new probes to find the leakers, as egregious as those leaks may be, is a waste of time. The leakers will never be found. If you want to root out the leakers, then get the Obama holdovers in various federal departments who remain in place under President Trump out of office. That's how you plug the leaks. But what inevitably happens is, in our frustration to find the leakers, we resort to the same kind of surveillance and wiretapping that we're trying to uncover and prosecute. In short, we become as bad as they are. That is not the proper response. So, what will happen now? I am told from my White House sources only moments ago that the president believes he has sent enough signals to Jeff Sessions about what he wants done. He's waiting for action. He's waiting to see whether Sessions will initiate prosecutions against the entire Obama frontline NSA crowd, as well as Bill and Hillary Clinton. And yes, he wants Jeff Sessions to look into the Fusion GPS setup of Donald Trump Jr. Why did they target Donald Trump Jr.? Because he is an unabashed fan of Infowars.com, because he is unafraid to retweet and repost some of the most revealing stories that you see here at Infowars, because he is a patriot who supports his father and isn't afraid of a fight. That's why he has been targeted. Let's be very clear. Doesn't matter whether Donald Trump Jr. met with one Russian or 100 Russians. None of those meetings are illegal or improper. In a presidential campaign, and I've been in 10 of them, from Richard Nixon to 3 campaigns for governor and then President Ronald Reagan, to that great American patriot, Senator Bob Dole, who campaigned hard for the Trump-Pence ticket, despite the fact that he is in his 90s, or whether it was the campaign of Donald Trump. When someone comes to you and says they had documented proof of illicit activities by your opponent, if you did not pursue that to determine whether it was true, you would be guilty of malpractice. You would be guilty of undermining your own campaign. I stress this again. Donald Trump Jr. has done nothing whatsoever wrong. Yet the media acts like he robbed a bank. And the media acts like there is something illegal. You'll notice that in the last several days, the entire Russian collusion delusion has disappeared from the mainstream media. Now, suddenly, all they want to talk about is Andrew Dice Scaramucci, as I call him, and the fact that he is an outspoken New Yorker who calls it the way he sees it, and that Scaramucci is sick of the leaking by those around the president. Now, I can tell you, folks, in American politics, the highest privilege and honor you can have is working for the President of the United States. A White House job is the epitome of success for those who consider themselves professional political operatives. And what happens? Those that the president bestows this high honor on, this privilege to work in the White House, turn around and leak. And why do they leak? Well, in some cases, it's to burnish their own cred, to aggrandize themselves, and to suck up to elitist, snotty, left-wing reporters in the mainstream media, not realizing that they will simply be used and discarded. In other cases, they leak to pursue an agenda that is not the president. So, for example, the leaks leading up to the Paris Climate Conference, where we were told that the president's views were evolving, that the president was going to Europe to get smart, that we saw the president moving towards the European view of things, all designed to lull the president into signing on to the failed Paris Accord. A perfect example of self-aggrandizing leaks for a political agenda. Now, we are going into, I think, a crucial period in which Reince Priebus's job hangs by a literal thread. And the president will make a crucial decision in the hours ahead about which way his administration is going to go. Will he choose a nationalist? Will he choose someone who is dedicated to the Trump reform agenda? My sources tell me the president was amused by the New Yorker story. He has not held it against Scaramucci in the slightest. In fact, the president enjoys Anthony Scaramucci's feistiness. He enjoys the fact that he's a fighter who calls it as he sees it. I can tell you the president was on the phone with Scaramucci yesterday no less than 5 times to talk about the latest development. I would not, if I were a betting man, be putting my money on Reince Priebus, the Cato Kalin of the Trump administration, the house guest who doesn't know when it's time to leave. We are in the final throes of his removal, folks. But will the president choose Gary Cohn, the former Goldman Sachs official who heads his economic policy, or Dina Habib Powell, the globalist Bushie inserted in the White House by Ivanka Trump? Or will he go with a patriot like Wayne Berman or David Urban? Only the president knows what he will do. But after 40 years of being a friend of Donald Trump, here's what I know. When the president has all the information, when he has all the facts, when he knows the truth of the situation, he almost inalterably will inevitably make the very best decision. My faith, my confidence, our future is in the hands of Donald Trump. I stand with the president. Infowars listeners and viewers, don't lose the faith. We stand with the president. Hello, I'm Roger Stone, back on Infowars and the Alex Jones Show. I can now tell you that my sources in Washington tell me that Reince Priebus will be replaced by Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly. Little is known about the views of Mr. Kelly, other than on the narrow question of the war on drugs, in which Mr. Kelly would appear to be on the wrong side. But you are hearing on Infowars.com, long before any other major mainstream media outlet, that Kelly will be the next White House chief of staff. Remember, you heard it here at Infowars first. I also want you to know that the campaign of Omar Navarro challenging Maxine Waters in a district outside of Los Angeles, a race that was first identified by Owen Schroyer here at Infowars as one of the most important in the country, is hosting a fundraiser on Monday night, July 31st, where I will be appearing with Mr. Navarro, who I believe is one of the most dynamic and exciting young candidates for Congress that I have ever met. Omar Navarro reminds me of a young, hungry Richard Nixon, and he is going to take down Maxine Waters in a very difficult fight, an uphill fight in a Democratic district. But you see, folks, the issue is not left-right. The issue is not liberal versus conservative or Republican versus Democrat, because Maxine Waters is one of the most corrupt members of the U.S. Congress. Maxine Waters used her influence to push the federal government to bail out a bank, but never revealed that she and her husband are shareholders in that bank, or that her husband was on the board of the bank. Maxine Waters' campaign paid her daughter $600,000. For what? This is corruption. So, folks, come out and support us on Monday night, the 31st, at the Trump National Golf Club in Rancho Palos Verdes. Stand tall for Omar Navarro, the candidate first identified by Owen Schroyer. And yes, I'm ready to announce that I will be a strategic consultant to his campaign, paid the princely sum of $1 to help this fine, liberty-oriented young American beat one of the worst, most liberal, most corrupt Trump haters in the United States Congress. Show up at the Trump National Golf Club in Los Angeles in Rancho Palos Verdes, California. I'll see you there. We need your support. And folks, go to the Infowars.com store where you can find the Infowars Life Bio-Me Defense probiotic at 20% off. This is an incredible sale that I myself I'm going to take advantage of as soon as I get off the air and can find my credit card. Folks, we need your support at the Infowars.com store. God bless you, God bless America, and victory or death.